Well, in celebration of hitting double digits, now that I have 10 subscribers, let's go ahead and answer some questions by SJW so you guys can learn some more about me.
They purposely making the innocent weak. My existence on this planet's for you. I ain't only here to benefit me. Yeah, we need to make a change while there's still time. It is hard, and sometimes I struggle trying to reveal mine. I can guide you if you feel blind. I just need you to be willing to journey into my ill mind.
Are you able to understand the irony of responding to the perceived political correctness of the left with exasperated reactionary hypersensitivity of your own?
Well, the difference is our hyperbolic reactions are online. Your hyperbolic reactions are this.
I've never seen such a racist human being on earth.
Jimmy Dore spat on Alex and then scurried off.
How do you define right-wing? Anti-SJWs often have an aversion to being labelled as right-wing, yet they regularly defend the right and bash the left. Therefore, why is being labelled right-wing a bad thing to you? And if it's because right-wing is used as a pejorative, can you not see how labelling people as SJWs or regressives is also pejorative?
I actually have no aversion to being labeled right-wing or conservative, as that's actually what I am. The thing is, I'm one of the few right-wing or conservative voices here in the skeptosphere, so it's actually fairly reasonable for my fellow skeptics to not want to be labeled right-wing or conservative when they aren't. The thing is, it would be just like labeling you a right-wing or a conservative.
Rather than telling people you disagree with to drink bleach, wouldn't it be more productive for you to have an actual conversation about the issues you feel matter? Or is it just easier to do the bleach thing?
Drink some bleach, please. It'll really help us all.
You claim to be proponents of rational, logical, evidence-based argumentation. That's great. That's entirely laudable. But when I look at your online activity, when I look at, I don't know, for example, your Twitter feed, that's often not what I see. How do you reconcile this claim to be evidence-based and rational and logical against stuff like, oh, I was just trolling you, oh, I was just shitposting, or TLDR?
Okay, first off, dude, I love your voice. Secondly, the thing is, there was an old quote by Nikola Tesla, something along the lines of, in the future, the world will be connected as one mind, we'll be able to contact each other and access information across the world within seconds, and this will all fit into our pockets. And what did the world do with it? Porn and shit posting. And that's about it, bro. Don't get upset whenever people just shit post. It's very fun, it's entertaining, and that's all it really is. You want to go to an actual place for academic discussion and debate, they have online forums for it. Or you can just ask somebody on Twitter for an academic discussion or debate. I'm willing to.
Are you aware that the ridiculous buzzwords you helped to popularize, like SJW and cuck and regressive, have all lost whatever meaning they once had and only serve now as casual insults and pejoratives to derail any meaningful conversation?
Says the people who managed to actually water down words like racist, rapist, and Nazi. Good job, guys.
In videos and in the comment sections, anti-feminists often take up the most extreme or the weakest feminist position they can find, or they just straight up misrepresent what the feminist position is. Instead, why not take up the strongest, most robust feminist argument you can find and really challenge yourself?
Maybe because we don't agree with rape, child marriages, and things like throwing acid in the faces of women. We just wish you guys would care about it a little bit more than you actually do.
What is third wave feminism? Because I've often heard you folks insist that you have no objection to feminism in general. It's specifically third wave feminism that you have a quarrel with. So what is third wave feminism specifically? And what specifically about third wave feminism do you have such a problem with?
You know damn well what third wave feminism is, Steve Shives. You're not that big of a moron. Then again, you probably are. And the problem with it is that the fact that they constantly complain about things like mansplaining, manspreading, manterrupting. Okay, do any of these have any correlation to you? Is there any link that appears to you? It's constantly complaining about men on the basis that they are men and nothing else.
Why is it that this feminist represents all feminists, but this men's rights activist doesn't represent all men's rights activists?
Whoa, wait, sexism all of a sudden? Ladies and men are different? So we're supposed to punch men and not hit ladies and open doors for men but not ladies? Fuck you, get out of my face, you tiny piece of shit.
Perhaps because nobody has their eye on the MRA, since they have no real world consequences that could cause harm. For the most part, the MRA movement is actually looking to achieve things that matter. They have actual arguments and ideas to bring to the table with specific policy changes that would help. You guys just yell and scream and bitch.
Why am I continually asked to answer for the views of feminists if I agree with feminism's overall aims, but don't agree much with those particular feminists? Does that mean that I can ask you to answer for anybody who labels themselves similarly to you, even if you don't agree much?
If you're going to give yourself a label of any kind, or give yourself any kind of placement within a community, for the most part, yes, you should answer for other people within that community that are acting like idiots. You can see it in our own skeptosphere. People are starting to judge people like the Unstoppable Atheist. People got mad at, Armored Skeptic, whenever he started acting like an entitled idiot, and they made him apologize and realize what he was doing. The difference is, we call people out in our community on their bullshit. You guys don't. So there's no need for us to necessarily answer for the ideas of others that are stupid, because we call them on it when they're being stupid already.
If sjws are bad because they spend too much time whining and don't talk about real problems, then why aren't you talking about those problems instead of just whining about the other people over and over and over for literally years? I mean, in the scale of priorities, that's like even lower, right? You know, you've got the real problems, you've got the things that feminists worry about, and then you've got you going, how dare they? Just, how dare they have different priorities from me? Why can't they do what I do? Whine about whining forever for a living. That's healthy.
Actually, if you look throughout it, people within this community have done things and brought awareness to a lot of issues that are real. I remember hearing about Sargon of Akkad and the Amazing Atheist actually working together to bring together money for a charity to help people out. Also, we bitch about you guys because in a way you guys are a real problem. Right now, the extreme left has policy power. They have the ability to change things in the world. What do they do with it? They bitch about things that are non-point.
Why don't you seem as concerned with actual feminist theory in academia as you are with wrecking people for views?
Well, I understand you can see how there might be a lot of people within any community that are just concerned about getting views. The thing is, why shouldn't they? They're trying to make a living working off of this. You know? So if they're going to wreck people for views and get $100 off a single video, good for them. Secondly, a lot of people within this community actually still challenge feminism on its academic level. I mean, one of the best examples is Teal there. The dude's a fucking genius. Then you have Sargon of Akkad, who handles the public views that they often spout.
Since so many of you profess to be admirers of second-wave feminism as opposed to third-wave feminism, I thought it would be interesting to ask which second-wave feminists in particular do you appreciate? Which books written by second-wave feminists have you read and found interesting? Which second-wave feminist activists have you specifically admired as you formed the opinion that you like second-wave feminism but you have no use for third-wave feminism? I'm just curious.
Look at the smug look on his face as he thinks he has a gotcha question. Ooh, you really burned us. And on full honesty, I really don't know. I've read hundreds and hundreds of books in my life, and here's the honest truth. I remember the names of 4 authors. L. Ron Hubbard, because the dude's hilarious due to Scientology. Ayn Rand, because she's a fucking genius. What's his name? J.R. Tolkien. And, shit, I just forgot the other one's name. Anyway, that shows you how much I pay attention to authors. I pay attention to the book, not the author. Oh, I remember James Patterson because he writes a shit ton of shitty books.
You do understand that reading the title of a book or an article or watching the first 15 seconds of a video is not going to give you a deep, nuanced understanding of what that book or article or video is about, right? That being said, how can you expect to understand or critique feminist sources if you don't even attempt to understand what they're trying to say?
You do realize that going after somebody and calling them a racist, misogynist piece of shit, white supremacist nationalist, is not going to actually be able to help you create ideas and counter arguments to somebody's ideas. This will not further the conversation at all. In fact, this will just stuff you further down an echo chamber. So before you critique people for doing the thing you're doing, take the log out of your eye before getting mad about the splinter in theirs.
Why is trying and failing to debunk a study into sexual assault the #1 priority for a rational thinker now? Does it maybe say something about your priorities? Does it maybe? Nah, it's fine, it's the feminazis, we have to stop them. They're taking away our video games. Look, Anita, I'm sorry, but we can't actually destroy video games. That doesn't make any sense.
First off, it's been proven time and time again that bullshit 1 in 4 study included sexual consent while drunk, included unwanted hugging and kissing, unwanted catcalls and flirtation. Okay, that's not rape. That's called being an annoying douchebag whenever you catcall somebody or slap them in the ass. And sexual consent while drunk, guess what? Both parties got rid of their ability to properly consent and view the law and all that level of shit. So you can't just blame the men on that. Secondly, what the fuck are you doing with your hands, dude? It's like the fucking claw going on. You masturbate too much or something. And finally, the fuck is this picture in the corner here? I'm trying to figure this out. I'm genuinely interested in this.
One of the major arguments that I see in many of your videos is that it is possible to separate criticism of the religion of Islam from the actual Muslim people. And yet, this line seems to be crossed very often. I see things like raghead or camel fucker or other things like that in your comment sections. I see people taking very serious shots at Muslims in videos and hangouts, and they don't get called out. At least not that I can see. So my question is this: why should a person of conscience who is concerned about the Muslim people and their community not being harmed or mistreated, why should they believe that you're actually only attempting to look at the ideas and talk about the ideas if you ignore bigotry that's occurring right in front of you? And in that light, would you be willing to break bread and salt with moderate Muslim people on your videos, have hangouts, invite them to your channels, just in order to build some bridges there and to learn more about what they think and how they feel and what their experience has been, so that information and knowledge can be further?
First off, if somebody wants to call a Muslim a camel fucking raghead, I don't care. Hell, I've called them that myself in jest and joking, okay? And also, here's the other part. There are a certain sect of people that are Muslim that honestly are second-rate citizens and human beings. There's a reason we have derogatory terms like redneck and stuff too, because there are also white people who act like second-rate level human beings and animals and stuff like this. Also, I've actually broken bread and salt with actual Muslims. Being a trucker, you see a lot of people come from areas like Ethiopia and Somalia and other shit where you have a large population of Muslims. Okay, here's the thing. A lot of them don't like Muslims. I'm not even kidding. There's a lot of Muslims that don't like other Muslims. And on the final note, I actually do in my channel promote things like the Muslim Reform Movement and the Clarion Project, which are movements to reform the religion of Islam, to ignore and turn away from things like Sharia law. What the fuck are you guys doing? You're just calling everybody racist whenever they want to look at Islam in an objective way.
You denied that systemic racism against black people is like a thing in general? If so, what? Okay, just step over, just cover your ears for a second and let the smart people talk. If not, why is it so much more important to you to demonize groups like Black Lives Matter than to actually use your platforms to discuss actual solutions to issues surrounding race and racism?
You are a condescending asshole and you're just being a dick. I will say this much, black people have it very bad today in America in a way that is kind of affected by the past. They live in what you can essentially call segregated areas due to essentially there being no white people around. They have massive dropout rates in high school, massive single motherhood. This is all issues that are not helped by the fact of crime and education and single mother. It's kind of a self-perpetuating cycle. So in that sense, I can understand saying that they are systematically oppressed, but it's a system of oppression that is almost self-inflicted, honestly. There's no law or regulation that says, nope, no black people can do this, you can only go to jail. And I've actually have thought about in large thought ways to help black people. And the honest truth is, I think the black population needs to disperse from these massively, essentially segregated ghettos where you get like a 99.9% black population and spread throughout the population. You need to get rid of the thing that is the black culture that perpetuates this situation that they live in.
If you've ever discussed or done a video about black on black crime, when are you going to do a video about white on white crime and what we as white people can do to solve the problems in our community?
Again, she ends it off with a smug look that makes her look like a total bitch. Anyway, I'll discuss white on white crime and violence as soon as black on black crime is nowhere near the level that white crime is, okay? Black on black crime and black crime in general is a fucking massive number. As soon as that number comes down to equal or less than white people, then we can start discussing that kind of stuff, okay?
Why is a literal teenager's different definition of racism from you so horrifying that you all have to go, no! No, we have to stop him! We've got to debunk him now! Ah!
First off, just to help you all out, I cut out a lot of scenes with this guy. He's the only one that tried to make jokes, and he did a terrible job at it. And secondly, because this person has a platform in which to influence people and describe what racism is, and do it incorrectly at that. People need to be educated that racism is really an idea. It's a you're worse than me because of skin color kind of thing. It's not power plus prejudice, okay?
Wherever did you get the idea that racism was a self-applied identity? And if the only true racists are the racists who self-identify as racists, how can we ever expect to make any social progress to reduce racism? Or did I just answer my own question?
No, you did not answer your own question. You just made yourself look like an idiot, okay? The thing is that racists tend to be pretty open about the fact that they don't like black people or people of a different skin color, okay? So the fact that you have this idea that everybody's running around as secret racist is really stupid.
You often say that you are for equality of opportunity, but if people of color, for instance, have to overcome barriers whites do not, such as discrimination and unequal treatment as are well documented in various studies, then how can the current situation be thought of as equal opportunity in any real way? And why do you consider it racist to discuss these issues?
Nobody considers it racist to discuss these issues. The fact of the matter is it's pretty racist to discuss these issues in a way that damns white people and all white people to hell, pretty much. And the thing is that for the most part, blacks don't have to face that kind of issue. You occasionally will come across the one guy that doesn't like black people because of their skin color. Guess what? That's one guy. He's an asshole. He doesn't affect the world much, okay? You can put up some little scenario of, oh, what if this one guy happens to own a multi-million-dollar company? I don't care. It's one guy still, okay? You can find a billion other white people that don't care.
Do you understand basic English syntax? Like, you know, if I say this cat is pretty, I don't mean that all other cats aren't pretty. Like, do you really not get why saying all lives matter in response to Black Lives Matter is not only racially insensitive, but just patently ridiculous?
Well, thank you for not saying that it's racist like a bunch of other people do, instead saying it's racially insensitive. And the other part is, do you understand context? Like the fact that Black Lives Matter chants Black Lives Matter and then runs around going, look, a white guy, let's beat his ass, or pigs in a blanket, frying like bacon, and then say only white people are cops. And so therefore, in that context, it is a proper response to say all lives matter because that includes black people and white people.
Isn't it offensive to men to assume that a man could only ever want equality for women and therefore be comfortable with feminism as a whole in order to get laid, and that reduces us to beasts? If that was the case, wouldn't I attempt to get laid from my views instead of not ever trying that?
Really, not many people assume you guys are just trying to get laid. They just assume that you're a bunch of cucks that haven't been laid enough and therefore are trying to appease women because you have a whole mother and spouse complex going on, okay?
If you say you're an egalitarian, will you call out the man-hating slurs that you see coming from people within your community? People who use terms like cuck, beta male, faggot, or mangina? All of these things basically distill men down into thinking that the most important thing about them is to be having sex with a woman. That's rather offensive. So what are you doing to stop this kind of behavior in your community?
Not a damn thing, and to a certain extent I'm partaking in it proudly. Okay, the thing about this is that for the most part when they call them beta males and cucks and anginas, we're not reducing them down to saying that, oh, you can only need to have sex to be a man. We're saying that, in fact, quite the opposite. We're saying that to be a man, you don't need to be on the side of women all the time and constantly feeling bad for them or trying to defend them. They can defend themselves. And these guys are white knighting because they have some kind of inferiority complex or something else going on. And that's why they get labeled as beta males, because they're not man enough to do things on their own or do things, have their own ideas and get laid off that.
What is the number of followers, the number of likes, the number of dislikes, the number of retweets, the number of subscribers, any of those numbers, any of those metrics, what have they got to do with the argument? Deepak Chopra, for example, a man who trots out an endless stream of pseudoscientific quantum woo bollocks, has nearly 3 million followers. So what? Those people follow him because he tells them what they want to hear. Why even mention the number of followers you have? What difference does it make?
Well, really, I hear that most often from you guys on your side. I don't really hear that much from this side. But in the context of somebody, for example, saying we're on the right side of history, and then they end up with more dislikes or shitty comments their way, they might want to take those things into consideration, to be honest.
Why is it that you go on and fucking on about safe spaces and trigger warnings and delicate little flowers, but continue to hide behind your cartoon avatars and your childish pseudonyms, and whenever anyone calls you out on your sexist, racist, homophobic, bigoted rhetoric, you become the argument of your own scorn and are hashtag triggered, as they say?
Okay, just to get this out of the way, anybody that yells out or says hashtag in a non-ironic way or is not referring and saying go to Twitter and say this hashtag for a movement is an idiot. And the other thing, because people like me, for example, I get called racist and sexist quite a bit. All of my friends are Hispanic and have brown skin and stuff like this. I literally have 2 friends that are white. So calling me racist is quite offensive, and my brown friends will find it offensive too.
Are you willing to publicly acknowledge and admonish the massive amount of hatred, bullying, harassment, and intimidation that a lot of your fans infringe upon people? And I don't mean these tiny disclaimers that you put under the description fold or flash for 2 seconds at the beginning of the video that you know nobody reads. I mean a public and ongoing anti-bullying stance. Or do you kind of like watching your fans go around harassing people and calling them slurs and telling them to kill themselves? You kind of like it, don't you? I mean, if that's your thing, I guess that's just what you're into. Just makes you a dick.
No, I will not admonish it, because quite frankly it happens to me too, and it happens to everybody. The difference between me and other people that can't handle it is exactly that. They can't handle it. There's this thing that we used to have back in the day that we used to glorify. It's called having a thick skin. If you can't handle words and insults and meanness on Twitter, you are a thin-skinned little dick.
Why do you find it so hard to believe that feminists are being harassed online?
I don't find it hard to believe. I just genuinely don't care.
Do you understand the key importance of reproducibility and repeatability in scientific research? That's simply going to Google Scholar, doing a 30-second search for keywords and pulling out the first paper you find that backs up your stance is not a particularly credible way to do research. That you have to have a much broader overview to read the material, to follow the citations through, to look at the broad brush approach to a particular problem. You do realise that you're as much of a social justice warrior as those you critique. It's just that you espouse a different form of social justice, a rather less considerate, rather less forgiving, rather less kind form of social justice.
The funny thing is, in certain fields of science and stuff, the replicability of experiments is incredibly low. I think with like psychology, it's at like 60% non-replicable, and other numbers like that in other fields. I don't remember the exact numbers. I'll throw them up here on the screen. Here they are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blah, 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 blah. And the other part of this is, in a way, you could say we are social justice warriors, but the thing is, that thing has already been tagged to you guys. What you could call us would be more like cultural defenders. We want to keep our culture the way it is. We want to keep it from being destroyed by the idea of self-hating and self-loathing of white people in the nation in general. And you guys want everybody to hate themselves as much as you hate them. And that's no way for a society to live or progress.
If you identify as an egalitarian, then I'm interested in your take on the usefulness of the concept of the original position as laid out by John Rawls in his theory of justice.
Again, you got the smuggiest, bitchiest look on your face. And as to your question, don't know about the book, don't know about the guy, don't care.
As a supporter, as a proponent of freedom of speech, why do you want to quash academic freedom? If you're not familiar with the concept of academic freedom, it's worth, in the UK at least, looking up the 1988 Education Reform Act and seeing what that says about the rights of academics to put across unpopular opinion.
The funny thing is, this is coming from the same people that shut down Milo Yiannopoulos at UC Berkeley. And the other part is that in reality, liberalism and leftist ideology has done a shit ton to block the movement and progression of science. There's a very interesting article below about what liberals have done to squash academic freedom and voice. I really suggest going and reading it, no matter which side of the spectrum you are on, so you can see how bad it really has gotten.
Why are you so obsessed with Anita Sarkeesian?
I'm not. I don't care about her. I think her time in the limelight has died, and now she is essentially just a person that's getting chubbier and chubbier as less and less people care about her.
Do you really think you can spend your entire life in a perpetual state of emotional immaturity? Do you actually imagine that you will be able to perpetuate your adolescence for your entire existence? Wait, didn't somebody else ask this one? Wait, I gotta... Ah, fuck.
To be honest, in a way, yes I do. The thing is that my adolescence and childlessness will take form in my actions in the real life, like playing around with friends, drinking and smoking and partying. Not by ridiculing other people for hurting my feelings. Okay, coming up here is the only part of this that actually made me laugh. But I guess even a broke clock is right twice a day.
Look, Anita, I'm sorry. I thought I could debunk these incredibly well-reasoned arguments. But it turns out that when there isn't any reasoning because they only read the first paragraph of the study, there isn't anything to debunk. Yeah, I know it's a huge shame, but I guess I've technically failed. I know, but you're going to have to cut these bits out of the video. Yeah, that's a shame. Oh well, good luck with it anyway. I love you too.
Lol. Anyway, maybe this gave you guys some more clarity as to my ideas and my thoughts on things. I let you know more about me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't care. And I love you guys. You guys are all very beautiful. Later.
Most of you chumps running around here ain't never had strict parents. Still you out in these streets thinking you hot as can be, without the knowledge to lead, so you just follow the sheep. You been brainwashed by a fake life that you used to live in. Yo, society's got you living for a whack cause you're a fucking adult with no skills at all. You don't read any books or play ball, you don't draw, you literally do nothing at all. Your lazy ass don't commit to labor. You pick something up, try it out, and put it down 2 minutes later. Then you complain about your life cause it ain't getting catered. Now whoever tries to call you on your bullshit's a hater. They purposely making the innocent weak. My existence on this planet's for you. I ain't only here to benefit me. Yeah, we need to make a change while there's still time. It is hard, and sometimes I struggle trying to reveal mine. I can guide you if you feel blind. I just need you to be willing to journey into my ill mind.